Strangely.
Strangely.
Mick's been acting very strangely lately.
Strangely shaped hills. The crowd fell strangely silent.
Strangely enough, I wasn't that disappointed.
Stranger.
Stranger.
Children must not talk to strangers.
Julie finds it easy to speak to complete strangers.
A politician who is no stranger to controversy.
Where's the station? Sorry, I'm a stranger here myself.
Strangle.
Strangle.
The victim had been strangled with a belt.
Mills argues that high taxation strangles the economy.
Strangled.
Strangled.
Ed gave a strangled cry.
Stranglehold.
Stranglehold.
Just a few firms have a stranglehold on the market for this software.
Strangulated.
Strangulated.
A strangulated hernia.
Clearly terrified, he let out a strangulated whimper.
Strangulation.
Strangulation.
Strap.
Strap.
A bra strap.
The strap of my bag is broken.
He was only 10 when he strapped on a guitar for the first time.
Soldiers with grenades strapped to their belts. Are the kids strapped in?
Strapless.
Strapless.
Strapped.
Strapped.
Can you lend me $10? I'm a little strapped for cash.
Strapping.
Strapping.
A strapping young lad.
Strata.
Strata.
Stratagem.
Stratagem.
Strategic.
Strategic.
UN forces made a strategic withdrawal.
Strategic planning meetings.
A strategic decision to move production to Hungary.
Marksmen were placed at strategic points along the president's route. Marseille was of great strategic importance.
Strategic nuclear missiles.
Strategically placed video cameras can alert police to any trouble.
Strategist.
Strategist.
Strategy.
Strategy.
The government's long-term economic strategy.
A company's business strategy.
A strategy for dealing with crime.
A strategy to attract younger audiences to jazz.
Military strategies.
It is the general's role to develop overall strategy.
The company must first resolve questions of strategy.
Stratification.
Stratification.
The Indian caste system is an example of social stratification.
Stratified.
Stratified.
A stratified society.
Stratified rock.
Stratosphere.
Stratosphere.
Oil prices soared into the stratosphere. He's now at the top of the political stratosphere.
Stratospheric.
Stratospheric. Stratospheric house prices. Stratum.
Stratum.
People of different social strata.
Straw.
Straw.
A straw hat.
She sipped her lemonade through a straw.
Making me work late on Friday was the last straw.
There have been a few straws in the wind suggesting things might be getting a little better.
Strawberry.
Strawberry.
Strawberry blonde.
Strawberry blonde.
Straw-coloured. Straw-coloured.
Straw poll.
Straw poll.
Straw weight.
Straw weight.
Stray.
Stray.
3 of the soldiers strayed into enemy territory.
We're straying into ethnic issues here. This meeting is beginning to stray from the point.
Her eyes strayed to the clock. One man was hit by a stray bullet and taken to hospital.
Streak.
Streak.
Sue has blonde streaks in her hair. A mean streak.
His serious nature was lightened by a streak of mischief.
Celtic are on a 6-game winning streak. 2 jets streaked across the sky.
The sky was streaked yellow and purple.
His hands and arms were streaked with paint.
Streaker.
Streaker.
Streaky.
Streaky.
Streaky greyish marks.
Streaky bacon.
Streaky bacon. Stream.
Stream.
A stream of traffic.
A stream of abuse.
A steady stream of visitors came to the house.
A stream of cold air rushed through the open door.
The new factory will come on stream at the end of the year.
Kim's in the top stream.
Water came streaming out of the burst pipe. Tears streamed down her cheeks.
People streamed past us on all sides. When I got up, my face was streaming with blood.
The first rays of morning sunlight streamed through the open doorway.
Elise ran, her hair streaming out behind her.
Streamer.
Streamer.
Stream.
Stream.
Streaming media. Streaming media.
Streamline.
Streamline.
Efforts to streamline the production process.
All these new cars have been streamlined.
Stream of consciousness.
Stream of consciousness.
Street.
Street.
We moved to Center Street when I was young.
She lives just a few streets away. I walked on further down the street. Someone just moved in across the street. A car parked on the other side of the street.
Young people living on the streets.
She felt quite safe walking the streets after dark.
Children as young as 5 are left to roam the streets at night.
Street musicians.
She has written about the realities of street life.
The man on the street assumes that all politicians are corrupt.
James is streets ahead of the rest of the class at reading. Her style is very street.
Streetcar.
Streetcar.
Street children.
Street children.
Street cred.
Street cred.
It'll wreck your street cred if you're seen helping the police.
Streetlight.
Streetlight.
Street people.
Street people.
Street smart.
Street smart.
Streetwalker.
Streetwalker.
Streetwise.
Streetwise.
Strength.
Strength.
She didn't even have the strength to stand up. I'm trying to build up my strength.
Jo hit him with all her strength. He never ceased to be amazed by her physical strength.
Jenny didn't have the strength to end the relationship.
She had enormous strength of character.
The sea was very cold and it required great strength of mind to get in.
I think you have to find an inner strength in order to feel good about yourself.
Governments cannot ignore the strength of public opinion.
We understand the strength of feeling against the proposal.
The strength of the U.S. economy.
The socialists organized a show of strength.
Her main strength is her critical thinking ability.
The great strength of our plan lies in its simplicity.
Be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses.
A device for testing the strength of concrete structures. Add water to dilute the solution to the required strength.
Young plants can be fed with half-strength liquid fertilizer.
The Edinburgh team are now at full strength.
The police force is below strength at the moment. Security forces were out in strength, but did not intervene.
The strength of the dollar on the international money markets.
I bought the book on the strength of your recommendation.
We must negotiate from a position of strength.
For several years, the business went from strength to strength.
The strength of the sunlight.
Strengthen.
Strengthen.
Our friendship has steadily strengthened over the years.
Steve's opposition only strengthened her resolve to go ahead.
The university hopes to strengthen its ties with the local community.
The company plans to strengthen its hand in Europe by opening an office in Spain.
The team has been strengthened by the arrival of 2 new players.
Measures to strengthen the economy.
The pound has strengthened against other currencies. Metal supports were added to strengthen the outer walls.
Fresh evidence has greatly strengthened the case against him.
The wind had strengthened during the night.
Strenuous.
Strenuous.
A strenuous climb.
The doctor advised Ken to avoid strenuous exercise. Sherry's been making a strenuous effort to lose weight. Barrett strenuously denied rumours that he would resign.
Strep throat.
Strep throat.
Streptococcus.
Streptococcus.
Stress.
Stress.
Your headaches are due to stress.
Janet's been under a lot of stress since her mother's illness.
All the stresses of public life. A lot of illnesses are stress-related.
Shoes with high heels put a great deal of stress on knees and ankles.
Pew laid particular stress on the need for discipline.
The report stressed that student math skills need to improve.
Crawford stressed the need for more housing downtown.
She stressed the importance of a balanced diet.
The word machine is stressed on the second syllable.
Studying for exams always stresses me out.
Stressed.
Stressed.
I always eat when I'm feeling stressed.
Stressful.
Stressful.
Moving to a new house is a very stressful experience.
Stress mark.
Stress mark.
Stressy.
Stressy. At the end of a stressy day, I just want to sit and watch TV.
Stretch.
Stretch.
A spider's web can stretch considerably without weakening.
Where can I buy those things that stretch your shoes?
Carl sat up in bed, yawned, and stretched.
Always stretch before exercising.
Anne stretched across the couch and grabbed the phone.
The canvas is stretched over a wooden frame.
Berg's career as a government official stretched over 20 years.
With a goal in the second half, Spurs stretched their lead to 3-0.
Row after row of orange trees stretched to the horizon.
A line stretching around the block.
The kids stretch my patience to the limit. This once I'll stretch the rules and let you leave work early. We'll stretch a point and let the baby travel free this time.
Reporters sometimes stretch the facts to make a point.
He's a good player, but world class is stretching it.
I'm going to have to stretch this $20 until payday.
We're stretched at the moment, otherwise we'd go.
The budget won't stretch to a new car this year.
The work's too easy. The students aren't being stretched enough.
I'm just going to stretch out on the couch for 10 minutes.
Jimmy stretched out his hand to take the candy. Jimmy stretched out his hand to take the candy.
A beautiful stretch of countryside. A stretch of 3 weeks without sunshine.
She doesn't leave the house for long stretches of time.
She rarely sleeps for 8 hours at a stretch.
The ski instructor showed us some special stretches.
My family wasn't wealthy by any stretch of the imagination.
As they enter the home stretch of the campaign, the president's lead has grown.
With staff shortages and appalling weather conditions, the emergency services were at full stretch. He dived and caught the ball at full stretch.
Stretch Levi's.
Stretcher.
Stretcher.
Ward was stretchered off early in the game.
Stretcher bearer.
Stretcher bearer.
Stretch limo.
Stretch limo.
Stretch mark.
Stretch mark.
Stretchy.
Stretchy.
Stretchy cotton leggings.
Strew.
Strew.
The street was strewn with broken glass.
Clothes strewn across the floor.
Conversation liberally strewn with swear words.
Flowers strewed the path.
Struth.
Struth.
Striated.
Striated.
Stricken.
Stricken.
Fire broke out on the stricken ship. A country stricken by severe economic problems. Drought-stricken farmers.
Strict.
Strict.
A strict teacher.
This company is very strict about punctuality.
The stewards are very strict with their children.
You had strict instructions not to tell anybody.
There are strict limits on presidential campaign contributions.
He's under strict orders from his doctor to quit smoking.
I'm telling you this in the strictest confidence.
Amy was attractive, although not beautiful in the strictest sense of the word.
He was raised a strict Catholic.
A strict vegetarian.
Strictly.
Strictly.
Alcohol is strictly forbidden on school premises.
The ban on hunting is not strictly enforced.
That isn't strictly true.
Strictly speaking, spiders are not insects.
This is strictly between us. Nobody else must know.
Stricture.
Stricture.
Religious strictures on marriage.
Stride. Stride.
Paco reached the door in only 3 strides.
The government has made great strides in reducing poverty.
When the boss asked Judy to stay late, she took it in her stride. Once I get into my stride, I can finish an essay in a few hours. The runner's long, loping stride.
Collins dealt with the reporter's questions without breaking stride. Shay's testimony threw the defense off stride.
He strode toward her.
Strident.
Strident.
Strident criticism.
The strident calls of seagulls.
Strife.
Strife.
A time of political strife.
Strike.
Strike.
She fell heavily, striking her head against the side of the boat.
A snowball struck him on the back of the head.
Several cars were struck by falling trees.
The last rays of the setting sun struck the windows.
She struck him hard across the face.
The victim had been struck with some kind of wooden implement. Paul struck him a blow to the head.
The assassin's bullet struck home.
A rather worrying thought struck me.
The first thing that struck me was the fact that there were no other women present.
It struck her that losing the company might be the least of her worries.
You can't help being struck by her kindness. His jokes didn't strike Jack as being very funny.
It struck me as odd that the man didn't introduce himself before he spoke.
In many countries, the police are forbidden to strike.
They're striking for the right to have their trade union recognized in law.
The killer might strike again.
Guerrillas struck a UN camp, killing 75.
Opponents of the war say that civilian villages have been struck several times.
The law would strike at the most basic of civil rights.
Such prejudices strike right at the heart of any notions of a civilized society.
The scandal seemed to have struck a mortal blow to the government's chances of re-election.
The plague struck again for the 3rd time that century.
Everything seemed to be going fine when suddenly disaster struck.
He was finding it difficult to strike a balance between his family and his work.
It isn't always easy to strike the right balance.
There are rumours that the president struck a private deal with the corporation's chairman.
The article struck a conciliatory note.
Moderate republicanism appeared to strike exactly the right note with the voters. Their story is bound to strike a chord with all parents. If they strike oil, drilling will begin early next year.
Jackie eventually struck gold with her 3rd novel.
The temple burned down after it was struck by lightning last year. It's time we struck a blow for women's rights.
By now, they were within striking distance of the shore.
The French team were within striking distance of the world record.
We struck it lucky in Bangkok, where we were told there were some extra seats on the plane that night.
The church clock began to strike 12.
Brazil struck first with a goal in the 3rd minute.
She saw the emotion in her father's face and knew her words had struck home.
The word cancer still strikes terror into many hearts. Malcolm struck his usual pose, hands in pockets, shoulders hunched.
As she began to speak to him, she was struck with shyness.
May God strike me dead if I'm telling a lie.
We instruct our staff never to strike back, however angry they feel.
The Prime Minister immediately struck back at his critics.
Over 50 nurses at the clinic have been struck down with a mystery virus.
They would rob the bodies of those struck down in battle.
Terry was told to strike off the names of every person older than 30.
Unhappy young people will often strike out at the people closest to them.
She struck out for the side of the pool.
He struck out the first batter he faced.
Did she say she'd go out with you? No, I struck out.
I struck up a conversation with the girl sitting next to me.
The band struck up a tango.
The government has promised that the army will be called in to help if there is a firemen's strike.
A 6-week strike by railway workers.
A strike over pay cuts. A national strike against mine closures.
A surprise airstrike on military targets.
American aircraft carriers have launched several strikes.
An oil strike.
Children from poor backgrounds have 2 strikes against them by the time they begin school.
Strikebreaker.
Strikebreaker.
Strikeout.
Strikeout.
Strike pay.
Strike pay.
Striker.
Striker.
Striking.
Striking. A striking contrast between wealth and poverty.
A dark man with striking features.
Striking auto workers.
Strikingly.
Strikingly.
The 2 experiments produce strikingly different results.
One of the most strikingly attractive regions in Britain.
String. String.
Her key hung on a string around her neck.
A ball of string.
I need a piece of string to tie this package.
A string of hit albums.
She owns a string of health clubs.
The policy offers 15% interest with no strings attached.
A first-string quarterback.
Susie has her mother on a string. Beads strung on a silver chain.
Christmas lights were strung from one end of Main Street to the other.
The houses and shops were strung out along the bay.
He's just stringing you along.
If you're going into town, I'll string along with you.
Rebel leaders attempted to string out negotiations to avoid reaching a settlement.
He was so drunk he could hardly string 2 words together.
They string together image after image until the documentary is completed.